Hello and welcome to Chapter 11, Lesson 3, Length in Customary Units. So today we're going to be talking about comparing sizes of customary units of length. We're going to be talking about customary lengths using similar customary units, and then looking at tables to find equivalent customary lengths. So yesterday we talked about mass and capacity, which was weight and volume. The day before that, we talked about metric length with meters. And if you remember, we talked about our ruler and some of the differences that we notice on our rulers. And so if just a quick review on that, if you remember, one side of our ruler has the inches, and I said on that first day that this is customary units, and the other side was centimeters, which is our metric measurements. So today, we worked with our metric measurements the other day. Today, we're going to be looking at our customary measurements, and our customary measurements are going to be inches, feet, and then even longer, yards. And a yard is very similar to a meter. And so if you have a yardstick is going to be close in size to a meter stick. It's going to be about a little bit shorter than you, but it's a long enough stick that it's closer to how tall you are. So let's look at the Explorer that they want us to do today. So they want us to work with a partner and use a yardstick. So this is a ruler. They want us to use a yardstick to draw 3 lines on a whiteboard. One that's a yard, one that's 2 yards, and one that is 3 yards in length. And then measure the lengths of the lines in feet and inches. And they want us to think about, how do the lengths in inches compare to the lengths in feet? And then how does each length compare to 1 yard? So here is our ruler. Our ruler has inches. And we know that a ruler is a foot long. 0 to 12 inches is 1 foot. Well, a yardstick, remember I said that was long, just like our meter stick, but it's going to have inches also. It's not going to have our centimeters. It's going to have our customary measurements of inches. And it's long, just like a meter stick was. And it's going to end at 36 inches. So we have 35 inches, 36 inches is a yardstick. Okay, so if I were to take that and draw 1 yard on the board, it would be a line the length of my whole yardstick. Okay, so I'm going to draw a smaller version here on our paper just to represent. Okay, so this is 1 yard. Okay. So now I need 2 yards, so I'm going to have 2 lengths that are similar. 2 yards, and then 3 yards. Now, imagine that on our whiteboard, but the length is the length of this whole stick 1 time, 2 times, and 3 times. Okay. Now, we're going to measure the lengths of inches of the lines in feet and in inches. Okay, well, I'm going to need a ruler to measure the length in feet. And I'm going to need my yardstick to measure it in inches. So now if you remember, my yardstick starts at 0 and it ends at 36 inches. So 1 yard is 36 inches. So then 2 yards is going to be 36 plus 36, which is going to be 72 inches. And then my 3 yards is going to be that yardstick again, 36 added together 3 times. So 2 times is 72. 3 times is going to be 108 inches. Okay, well, if I have my inches, now they want us to find the length in feet. So I might have to remember that, okay, there was 36 inches in 1 yard. 36 inches, there's 12 inches in a foot. Let's see how many feet are in a yard. So I have, there's 12 inches. There you go, there's 12 inches. If I go again and I put my 12 at my 0, that takes me to 24. And that takes me to my 36. So I have 3 feet. So if there's 1 yard is 36 inches is 3 feet, 2 yards is going to be 6 feet, 3 yards is going to be 9 feet. So let's do some comparison statements. 1 foot is how many times as long as 1 inch? Well, there we go. 1 foot is how many times as long as 1 inch? How many inches? 12 times an inch. 1 yard is how many times a foot? I had 3 of these in my yardstick, so there was 3 times as long as 1 foot. So 1 yard is how many times as long as 1 inch? There were 36 times inches in the yard. All right, let's flip it over and do some practice problems. Customary units of length include inches, feet, yards, and miles. Do you remember the other day we talked about kilometers, kilometers? And I said that's kind of similar to our measurements that we drive a car. So in the United States, we use miles as our distance that we drive a car. In Europe and most other parts of the world, they use kilometers. So today we're going to be talking about miles. Now let's look at our conversion chart over here. This is always really helpful and really important. So customary units of length. 1 foot equals 12 inches. 1 yard equals 3 feet. 1 mile equals 1,760 yards. Woo! That's a big number. That means I'm going to take this yardstick and I'm going to lay it end to end 1,760 times, and that's going to give me the length of a mile. So let's find the number of yards in 2 miles. Well, if there are 1,760 yards in 1 mile, then 2 miles times 1,760 yards. Well, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to go back to my trusty area model. 1,760. I don't have any ones, so I don't need a place for that. And I'm going to multiply those times 2. So I've got 2,000. I've got 7 times 2 is 1,400. And 60 times 2 is 120. So if I add those up, 2,000 plus 1,400, plus 120. Remember, it is always important. We always have to have that place value lined up. Okay. So I have 0 ones, 2 tens, 5 hundreds, and 3 thousands. And so it's 3,520 yards in 2 miles. Okay, let's look at our next example. Find the number of inches in 7 yards. Okay, so I come back up here to there's 12 inches in a foot, and there's 3 feet in a yard, but I have to go from inches to yards. So am I going to have to convert to feet and then my feet to yards? First, find the number of feet, then find the number of inches. Okay, there are how many feet in a yard? 1 yard equals 3 feet. So 7 yards times 3 feet. Well, 7 times 3 is 21 feet. Now I need to convert my feet into inches. So if I have, how many inches are in a foot? I've got 12 inches in 1 foot. So 21 feet times 12 inches in a foot, 21 times 12. I cannot do that in my head. So let's come over here to our fabulous area model. I've got 21 times 12. So decompose that 21 into 20 and 1. Decompose that 12 into 10 and 2. Now I've got 20 times 10, which is 200. I've got 10 times 1, which is 10. 20 times 2, which is 40. And 2 times 1, which is 2. Add those up, 200 plus 10 plus 40 plus 2. I have 2 ones, 5 tens, and 2 hundreds. 252 inches in 7 yards. Okay, now is your turn to push the pause button. Do problems 1, 2, 3, and 4 on your own, and then come back and let's check them together. Remember, this is going to be helpful up here. You're going to need your conversions. Don't forget to list the conversions that you use along with the equations that you do to show your work. All right, welcome back. Let's look at how we can solve these. So they're being asked 6 miles is how many yards? Well, up here we saw that 1 mile is 1,760 yards. So I'm going to say 1 mile equals 1,760 yards. Okay? Well, my equation is going to be 6 miles times 1,760 yards. Oh, I definitely cannot do that in my head, so let's decompose it. I'm going to have 1,760 times 6 miles. So I have 6,000. And then I'm going to have 6 times 700 is going to be 4,200. And then 6 times 60 is 360. We'll come over here and we'll add those up. 6,000 plus 4,200 plus 360. 10,560 yards. Again, I showed my conversion and I showed my equation. Okay, let's do 4 feet in inches. So if I have 12 inches in 1 foot, so my equation is going to be 4 feet times 12 inches. Well, let's decompose this. 10 and 2 times 4 feet, that's 40. And 4 times 2 is 8. 40 plus 8 is 48 inches. Again, there's that equation and conversion. Let's look at number 3. 11 yards is how many feet? Well, 1 yard is 3 feet. There's my conversion. So 11 yards times 3 feet equals, well, I know that 11 times 3 is 33 feet. Last one. 3 miles is how many feet? Well, I don't have a miles to feet up here, but I do know how many yards are in a mile, and I know how many feet are in a yard. So am I going to have to do this twice? Yep. So if I have 3 miles is how many yards? So 3 miles equals 1,760 yards. So, 1 mile. So my equation is 3 miles times 1,760. You know, I could do my area model, but I also could just do repeated addition since it's only 3 of them. I have 0. 6 plus 6 plus 6 is going to be 18. Carry the hundreds. 700 plus 700 plus 700 is going to be 2,100, sorry. Plus 1 is going to be 2,200. 2,000 plus 1,000 plus 1,000 plus 1,000 is going to be 5,000. Okay, so now we've got 5,280 yards. Okay, well, now I've got to take that 5,280 yards is how many feet? Well, 1 yard is 3 feet, so there's my conversions. Times 3 feet. 5,280 times 3 . Okay, well, 5 times 3 is 15, and I've got my 3 zeros. I've got 200 times 3 is going to be 600. 8 times 3 is 24 plus a 0. So I've got 15,600 plus 240. So let's go 15,000 plus 600 plus 240 is going to give me 15,840. Whew. So those multi-step problems get us some big numbers. So here is my conversions, here's my equations, and my answer. All right, good luck on your pages that your teacher has assigned you. If you have any questions, as always, reach out and ask your teacher.